TG Geeks, episode 40, September 28th, 2015. Who's killing who? Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we are coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also here in, where else would I be? Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we have a interview for you, so let's get to it. And today we have with us Mr. Jim Hansen, who is the director of the LGBT-themed feature film, You're Killing Me. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk to you about You're Killing Me, but before we do that, why don't you give us a little introduction of who you are and what you've done and kind of how you broke into the business and how you got into filmmaking.
Basically, your entire bio.
Exactly. There you go.
All right. Well, I basically started. I moved to Los Angeles from Seattle, and I moved out here just kind of having a vague idea that I wanted to work, in the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I came out here and worked on a bunch of like low budget movies. Just kind of started in on it. I think actually when I was living in Seattle, I was obsessed with Twin Peaks when I was on. That was about the time that I moved out here. And the first kind of job posting board says, work on a movie with Cheryl Lee. And I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I worked for free on a bunch of low budget movies. Then just started working in the industry. I started off doing art department. I was doing like on-set dressing, which is like the continuity, like making sure that the
right.
gin bottle is half full when they take a swig out of it every time. That
exactly.
Kind of
Right.
And then I started doing production designs on like Playboy movies, and
great.
and then I switched over and I started doing wardrobe on movies, and then from there moved into production designing. I did costume design. I did costume design on another gay movie.
Oh wow!
Do you remember that movie?
Another gay movie?
Yeah.
I've seen it once before. That was a number of years ago, but that's very good. I didn't realize that was you.
Yes, I did that, and then I've also just worked for years doing costumes on sitcoms. So I work right now on Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. I'm the costume supervisor on that.
Oh, cool.
So then, but that said, like with doing wardrobe jobs, I'm able to sort of have a lot more time because, we have like a week off a month and it's a very, flexible schedule. So I'm able to like do my own projects on the side. So I have a number of web series that I've done. I do these Chloe Sevigny parody videos with my friend Drew Droege. We do those. And then I have a couple of web series I did a web series for Broadway, for Above Average called My Drunk Aunts. I did with John Roberts, who's the voice on Bob Burgers, and Drew. He was like Linda's voice on Bob's Burgers.
Okay.
And then I have another web series that I did called Paragon School for Girls, which is about a bunch of guys who live in a dollhouse. It's a story about a bunch of girls with powers who, but it's shot with all guys playing the girls, and everybody's on green screen and put inside real dollhouses.
Oh my gosh!
Sort of hard to explain, but it's a weird one. And that's kind of like a little bit like Harry Potter, but draggier, and maybe a little Brian De Palma thrown in there, a little Carrie. And then, so that's kind of the last web series. And then I did this movie that I co-wrote with my friend Jeffrey, and kind of the same kind of collective group of people. We kind of all do these crazy projects together. And so that's and then we did a horror movie, which is kind of my favorite genre. It's my kind of favorite go-to kind of movie is like a horror movie.
Well, that sounds fun. We went to Horrible Imaginings because we had been turned on. It's a long story of how we got.
Listen to the episode. Listen to the episode where we talk about it. We did a 2-hour show on that.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
It changed our mind on horror. I mean, we obviously Miguel helped us to understand horror a little bit better and not think of it as the slasher films of today, but and granted, yours is kind of a slasher film of sorts, but yeah. It's different, and we were able to appreciate horror in a different vein, if you will. So yeah, it was kind of neat to see, and that was one of the main reasons we really wanted to go to Horrible Imaginings for the 2 LGBT films, and that was important for us as well. So.
Now, you've mentioned that horror is your favorite genre. I'm just curious, what was your gateway show, movie? What was the one thing that made you say, ooh, this is a genre that I could really get into?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it is Brian De Palma movies, which are not so strictly, they're kind of more, like anything with psychic powers. Like, I think I was obsessed with Escape to Witch Mountain, which was like about... Oh,
okay. That's a good movie.
Two alien kids. I loved that as a kid, and I think that kind of like the sci-fi into horror kind of stuff is what I guess I'm most into. I still watch all the horror movies. I don't think there's something about a horror movie that's it's such a heightened thing, and the stakes are so high, and it's they're campy too in a weird way. I don't know what it is about it. I wish I could understand why people like horror movies. It seems such a horrible thing to enjoy.
I think you just kind of hit on something, because I've been kind of wondering, what is it about horror films? I mean, yeah, we had a great time at Horrible Imaginings, but I've always kind of wondered, what is it about horror that kind of makes people want to come back? And I'm wondering, is that the genre for adrenaline junkies, maybe?
I think that's it, because I mean, even in like another movie, you kind of just want to go into a movie and feel something, whether it's like a sad movie, if you feel sad, or a comedy and you laugh. I mean, in a horror movie, kind of get your blood pumping. Right. I think it is like to go in and sort of feel, to feel something that there's something just by watching something on the screen that's not really actually affecting you can affect you so much. And I think that's the power of movies. And I think some people enjoy getting their heart racing, and some people don't. I guess but I think I just do love that sort of, because my gauge if it's a horror movie that I enjoy is if I get if I feel it, if you just get excited or scared or whatever it is.
Right. So let's talk about your film, You're Killing Me. How did that kind of come about? Tell us.
Yeah, what was the genesis of that story, and how were you able to put that film together?
Coming, several things
maybe
put together.
Sort of started with when somebody told me, like, there's a saying, like, you can't betray your audience, whereas you're supposed to like take care of your audience and protect them. It's like one of the things that people say about movies, and I was like, well, of course you can betray the audience, and I just wanted to play with the idea of having, the audience sort of be messed with, because the movie, I mean, it starts like a comedy. It feels like it's going to be a comedy, and then all of a sudden be like these awful, gory moments. And I wanted it to feel like the audience is not being taken care of. Like you're kind of out on your own. You have to sort of find your own way. So that was maybe the genesis of what I thought would be fun to play with. Even just like, because I wanted the gory parts to be really gory and disturbing, and in the midst of kind of like a comedic movie. And then I also wanted I don't want to ruin the ending, but like they're basically everybody's awful in it. I mean, nobody is somebody that you really that's a good person. It is kind of all these awful people. So I wanted to play with that too, where you don't really where the killer is the only person who doesn't lie. Like he's doing all this awful stuff, but he's really honest and he's polite and he tells you exactly what he's thinking and is not deceptive.
Yeah. Well, that's called irony.
It's a great film. I loved the film. We were sitting like the row behind you, during the film, and it was just I was laughing, and the part that really got me going. And
No spoilers.
no spoiler is when the one character says, "Would you just shut the up?" to the female character that's in there. It's like when he says, you know, it's like it was the perfect moment for him to say that, because she was just going on and going on and going on. It's like everybody in the theater, I'm sure, wanted to say, "Would you just shut up?"
Yeah, that was fun. That's Edie. She's so funny.
So,
she's kind of she's a groundling. A lot of the actors are really good comedic actors, and
yeah,
I think that was also a fun thing to, you know, have this kind of like, you know, have this kind of a horror movie that with such funny people in it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Groundlings. You can get some really good people out of there. Were the character types, I mean, were they based on anybody you know? And the reason I say that is when I wrote my review, I mentioned that at the very beginning, I started seeing what looked like some really almost offensive stereotypes. And then I thought back and said, no, hang on a minute. I can't say these are offensive stereotypes because I actually know people like that.
Well, the stereotype is.
I mean, we wrote it for these people. It's pretty close to exactly who they are.
Oh, great!
Oh my!
we just sort of tweaked the like made them a little more villainous, but you know, like Drew is in it. There is, you know, Drew and Jack. These are all my closest friends. All the actors in this movie are people like I've been friends with Jack Plotnick for 20 years. You know, these are all just like our group of friends. So we wrote it for our friends and based on their, you know, what we think that they're best at. So, yeah, so it's pretty close to who they are.
Well, you mentioned these are your closest friends. Are they in acting in any sort of way?
Yeah, they're all. I mean, I guess most of my friends are actors. Yeah, they're all actors. They're all SAG actors. Except for Jeffrey, who's like the guy who co-wrote it with me. I think he's the only one that wasn't.
Because I thought the acting was really quite spot on, and that's what makes it so funny. Is it allows you to suspend disbelief long enough and kind of allow yourself to be drawn into the movie. Because, as I said, I mean, these people they reminded me of some friends that I've had in the community from years past. But if the performances had been off, I would have completely been taken out of the film, and I wasn't. I thought their performances were amazing. So
thank you. I think they're so great. I agree though. Like if it didn't come off just like real conversational, real people, you couldn't watch it, you know, because it relies on them being natural and good.
Now, something that I've been kind of wondering about, and this was something that we discussed when we were down in San Diego, and that is the lack of what I would call good quality horror films for the GLBT community. And before seeing your film, I was kind of wondering, is there even a place for our community in the horror genre, be it serious or comedic? And you've certainly proven the point with You're Killing Me that there is a place for us as far as the comedic goes. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, were you looking at making this sort of a groundbreaking opportunity to kind of make the point that, hey, we do have a place in this genre?
I think, honestly, the reason it is, we kind of wanted to just make a movie about, like, what if a serial killer walked in with our group of friends? Like, how would we react? What would we do? And it wasn't so much like we want to tell our story. It's just like, these are my friends. These are the actors that I want to work with. These are the people that I think are funny, and let's just tell our story. But it wasn't so much about trying to. I mean, I don't even think we say the word gay in the movie, because it's just. We do say it once. I thought we didn't, but we do say it once. But it wasn't about like trying to tell our story of like. It's just like this is just a group of people that this happened to, you know, like
right.
I didn't even really want to give much regard to being gay, and I didn't really try to cast it anybody. I didn't try to add straight people. It's kind of just like who was in the room at the time, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to overthink it and try to make it something that we're not. I just want to kind of tell basically as if a serial killer walked into like one of our real game nights.
Yeah, and that's what I think makes the film work, is that you're not trying to be gay, and you're not trying to push being gay, and it's just there, and the movie just happens.
That's just
yeah.
who these people are.
Exactly.
Well, I wasn't trying to say, I wasn't looking to see a movie that has some sort of message, like longtime companion or something like that. I mean, no, heavens no, no. But I was just kind of wondering, is there a place for just GLBT horror? And I mean, I could see that there is, and I'm hopeful that there is more, because I saw between your movie and the one Spanish film, which I can
Sanguine Craving.
Sanguine Craving. I mean, those two movies alone really show that there's
that
a great.
Was a good one to show before. I hadn't seen that.
It was
really interesting. It
really
felt really fresh to me because I haven't really seen that many gay horror movies.
Because there aren't that very many. Not that I've seen.
And when they tend to be sort of like silly.
Well, they bounce between silly and preachy.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. Fun is okay, but silly not so much. And preachy, I think we're way past preachy now. And I think that was the really refreshing thing about You're Killing Me, is that it was neither. And I think you really created something wonderful by approaching it with, how would we react if this happened to one of us?
Yeah. Also, like, when you make a really low budget movie, we just made this ourselves. You kind of have to be specific and tell a small story, because there's no way I can tell a huge story on such a low budget. So I kind of make it really personal, and to make it sort of like niche in genre. Like it does cater kind of to a very specific person, or at least I thought it did. But it seems people do seem to relate to it who don't enjoy it. I thought it would be more kind of like for horror movie people, but now that it's done and I see it, and I realize it's actually more of a comedy. But it's just it kind of can become whatever you sort of want it to be.
Exactly.
Whatever you kind of go in. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
It has its drama aspects too, so it's a well-rounded film.
Yeah, very well-rounded.
with a huge dose of gore.
Yeah.
Now, you said this was a low-budget film. What was the production time from the moment you started writing this to the moment you finally said, it's edited, it's done, print?
We shot it last April. So like about a year and maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And it took probably I did a real quick edit on it. Like we shot it in like about 8 days, and then I started editing it for a couple months, and it was and then I just sort of stopped for a while because I got a little frustrated, and then I kind of went back, and then I brought in another editor who kind of helped me like to see it for what it was. And so I mean, I guess it took maybe 6 months to edit, and then it's been done for about maybe 6 months now.
Oh, cool.
I'm kind of jazzed over the fact that you were able to film it in 8 days. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were shooting like in my house, and then my friend Jeffrey's house, and then a friend of ours has a restaurant that we shot at. So we did take advantage of a lot of resources that we had, and we sort of planned it out really well. We had a good schedule where we knew, and we kind of shot it all out of order, and everybody really knew their lines, and we do these big long scenes, and everybody was like really prepared. So yeah, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't, even though it was fast shooting, we didn't work over 12 hours, which is usually, low budget movies go like 16-hour days, and people are going crazy, and it's like, it was pretty civilized, I thought.
What impresses me is the fact that you've made the claim that it's a low budget film, and to be honest, watching it on the big screen, I did not get that feeling of it being a cheap film. It looked, I thought it looked very polished, to be honest. I was very impressed with it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's my, always the thing that I'm nervous about, is that I'm afraid it looks too cheap, because I know that it was really inexpensive.
Well,
I mean, it was inexpensive, but the things that cost money were like insurance and making sure because we were SAG, we had to make sure that we had proper insurance and permits for like shooting in Griffith Park and stuff. So a lot of the money that we did spend on it was not so much stuff that you see. It's more like just to make it legitimate. But yeah, no, it was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I did the costumes and the sets and everything. So
Well, that's cool.
just kind of getting everything kind of prepared ahead of time, so that when we did shoot, we could do it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, also congratulations on the, what was it, 4 that you won at Horrible Imaginings? It was, let's see, best score in a feature film, best actor,
Matthew
best
got
director, and
best actor for his portrayal of the serial killer Joe.
And he was wonderful.
he was.
Yeah.
Not to mention terribly
Yeah,
cute, but yes, he was wonderful. He was very believable.
And
Yeah, he's
best
great.
director, too.
Yeah, and you got an award on that one too. So congrats. Best
Thank you.
score. How did you pull that one off? Sometimes that can be, especially when you're working in post production. Sometimes trying to put together a good musical score is a bit of a difficult challenge.
Yeah, that was tough. Luckily, this guy Ryan, who is friends of the editor, I kind of gave him kind of like some idea of what I wanted, and he just kind of did it. It was great. He did like kind of all the kind of, there's like all the murders have a different sort of musical thing going on, so he did all this really kind of atmospheric Cocteau Twinsy sort of music, which I love. And then we had this guy who lives in Oklahoma City, who did all the songs where they're the guy when they're singing, it's all this one guy's music, which he allowed us to use his music for free, and it's so good. His music is just incredible. His name's Jared Lakitis. And and then there were some parts that I just like was me with a keyboard going blink blonk boom boom, trying to make sounds.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we have to finish this thing, so I just had to do some of the score myself as well.
Cool.
Now, I gotta ask this question. Now, for anybody who will finally get a chance to see this, and I hope I would urge anybody who's within the sound of our voices, and if this movie ever comes across your way, watch it. It's worth it. There is a surprise in the last, I'd say the last 15 or 20 minutes of my memory is correct. That just really threw me for a loop, and I actually gave out a very loud exclamation when it happened on the screen. There's a certain cameo, a certain actress. Yeah. How did you nail that?
I think people know.
Mindy Cohn? Wow. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the greatest. I mean, because I'm 54 years old, so she's from that time, that was really big in my development in pop culture. How did you get her?
We got her. A friend of mine, Colin, he's a casting agent, and he does Hot in Cleveland. And I think she was a guest star on that show. And I think he was just like, I made a list of actors that we kind of wanted, because we knew we wanted that one part to be somebody that people would see and love, because it's important that you automatically see her and you love her, because she kind of comes in the tail end, and just the way the situation is used to feel like an immediate affinity towards her.
Oh, and she's so bubbly too.
And she's just a force of nature in your film.
Yeah, isn't she just the most lovable?
She's
I want
adorable.
to see her do so many more things. I think she's just so charismatic, and the minute you see her, and she was so funny on set. She just came in and did it. She was a delight. Everybody loved her. Everybody was like so drawn to her. It was the only time we really slowed down during production, because everybody just wanted to have their like minute with Mindy and just listen to her talk. But she was really lovely. And I weirdly when I was a kid, I just always knew I wanted to work on movie, because Facts of Life was my favorite show. I was obsessed with Facts of Life. So when Colin was like, well, maybe Mindy, we had a list that she was on, and Colin was like, oh yeah, I could probably talk to Mindy, and we're like, done. So she was like our first choice for that. And we got her, and she just, and she did it really as a favor. I mean, she didn't do it we did pay her, but only because it's like union, we paid her union minimum.
Right.
She just did that.
Right.
I think because she wants to do something creative.
It will be funny if in future projects, especially if they're on the kind of scale that You're Killing Me is, if you could keep bringing her back. I mean, that would be just like the greatest gag in the world.
Your good luck charm.
I would love that, to have her like do cameos in every little project.
Because she's absolutely delightful. So how long has You're Killing Me been in the? And I assume it's in the I guess you call it the film circuit, or because it's not a short.
We've been in about 10 film festivals. We did Inside Out Toronto, and Outfest was a big one here in LA. But then like it's been in Dublin and Arkansas and Kansas City. We went out to North Carolina, and I think this weekend. Well, I don't know when I don't know when this airs, but I think it's in New Orleans on the 27th.
Well, this will go out.
This is the 28th.
Yeah, this will go out on the 28th.
Okay, well, then yesterday it was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But we are going to be in Atlanta for a screening there on October 3rd.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to be in Seattle for a screening there on October 11th.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about those.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Phoenix has a gay and lesbian film festival. It wouldn't hurt to have this one show up there as well.
Phoenix, I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah.
I don't think we have. I don't know when that's not on my immediate list here, but
Yeah.
I want to say I want to say it's February, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to double check
we
that.
We just kind of got into this independent film thing. Our podcast is about a year and a half old, and we started out doing major films and TV and stuff like that, and then it kind of grew, and we've started talking about independent films. So that's kind of become our big thing for the moment. So
how long has You're Killing Me been in the film festival circuit?
we premiered May 30th.
May 30th.
Of this year.
Oh, cool.
So we've been doing it, so about like 5 months now.
So how long do you plan to keep it in the film festival circuit?
Well, hopefully, I think we're trying to sell it now to a distributor that would put it like on demand, like on iTunes, and then
cool.
Nice.
So hopefully that will happen. That's what I really want. I really would love for it to be somewhere where people can watch it, because it's really made to be on a TV. Like that was always. I've been watching it so many times in theaters now, which I love, but because I've edited it at home on my computer, I'm used to seeing it like smaller, like on a TV.
Right.
So it really is, but TV size. But now that I've been watching it so much in theaters, it's a different experience. But I love it. I love seeing it so big.
Okay, now you just brought up a thought to me. Now, given your involvement and the fact that you've been living, breathing, eating, drinking, sleeping this movie. How does it feel for you personally to be sitting in a theater and seeing this baby that you birthed on the big screen? I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, are you able to detach yourself emotionally and just enjoy the film as it is? Or, because we know some other filmmakers that when they see their stuff on the screen, they keep picking at it.
Yeah, it's hard not to do that. I kind of have to let that go, because it's sort of like it's done. Like I have to let it be done, and I'm the kind of person who will just be like, I just want to tweak this and tweak that. But when you see it, like what you really notice is that every time you watch something, because I'm so close to it, every theater it looks different, and something else is different. And you notice like it sounds different, and it kind of can send you in a little bit of like a crazy mind spiral, because you think is something wrong. Because one of our screenings, there was like a flash of green. I think that was at Horrible Imaginings.
That
there was just like a little green flash, and somebody in the audience was like wondering what that meant, and it was just like, I think it was just like a glitch in the.
I think that was ours.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that was I think that was at Horrible Imaginings. But but so little things will happen, or like it'll sound weird, and it's easy to get like freaked out, but no one else notices, so you just have to let it go.
Yeah.
I am a little bored of watching it now. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I want to be just, but I do love to hear when people laugh and hear what people laugh at.
Right.
So that's what keeps me in the screenings.
Well, we loved it. I mean, we really loved it. I mean, I couldn't wait to talk to you guys, but I wanted to see the next film too. So
yeah, that was the one bummer about the film
Yeah.
festival, is that there just wasn't enough time to talk to everybody, and doing so you run the risk of missing out on either a block or a particular film that you wanted to see. So yeah, that's why it was important to be able to have a chance to talk to you.
And I definitely want to see it again. So
Oh,
whenever
God,
whenever
yeah.
you get a distributor, we'll let us know because we will.
Or if you
definitely-
bring it into Phoenix,
exactly.
if you bring it to a gay and
Yeah.
lesbian film festival around here, and we will look that up and we'll pass that information on to you, because I think you got a real winner there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great film.
Thanks.
It's a
No, I mean,
fun
it
film.
means a lot that you guys came up afterwards and told me you liked it. So, it's you work on these things kind of on your own for so long, and you and then you show it out. You are a little bit vulnerable. It's like,
Yeah.
like here's the thing I made. Wanting people to like it is
Yeah.
So it makes me happy that people like it, especially since it's something that we just made our own thing. We didn't really try to make it fit a mold, and we wanted it to be weird. We definitely wanted it to be weird and unusual. So it's nice that it's got a good response.
Well, everybody, whenever you create something, everybody wants some kind of validation. So it's natural that you want to feel that way. And yeah, we loved it a lot, and that's why I keep saying that if anybody has a chance to see this, to please see it, because it's not just a good horror film. It's not just a good comedy film. It's not just a good gay and lesbian film. It's just a good film. Period.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's really good. So, if anybody wants to follow your progress on future projects, anything along those lines, do you have a social media presence that people could go to?
Probably the easiest thing is JimHansenFilms.com. It's just my name, Jim, HANSENFILMS, all one word, .com. And on there is kind of links to, there's a You're Killing Me link up there, but there's nothing really there right now because it's kind of still making the rounds. But, there's links to the Chloe videos, and Paragon School for Girls is on there. And I have another short horror thing that I did with my friend Jack Plotnick called Video Night that's up there, and a bunch of little weird tidbits and stuff that's kind of everything I've done is on there.
Cool.
All the little movies and stuff.
Excellent. So we will definitely encourage people to check out JimHansenFilms.com for all things related to you and what you're working on.
Yes. And we want to thank you, Jim, for joining us today on TG Geeks Webcast. And we hope to talk to you again soon whenever you have another project going.
Thanks so much, you guys. I appreciate it.
All right.
Our pleasure.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the Two Gay Geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
And yes, that sound means it's time for the birthdays. Here are a few selected birthdays for September 28th through October 4th. September 28th, Gwyneth Paltrow is 43. And William Wyndham was born on September 28th, 1923. And I told you I met him.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, way back in Oklahoma, 1977, 78, something like that, when he was doing his one-man show of Walter Mitty.
Ah.
It was really special to be able to meet him. There were only a few people that got to go backstage and meet him, so it was kind of neat. Anyway, also on September 28th, Ed Sullivan was born in
really big
1902. How
Really
about
big
that?
sure for
Really
you.
true, yes. He introduced the Beatles to America.
Yes.
Yes. September 29th, Zachary Levi is 34. We're going to talk about him
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. And our friends over at Megapodzilla had him on their show as well.
Yep.
Also, September 29th, Madeline Kahn would have been 73. What a loss. My God.
I know. She was such an amazing talent, both in terms of comedy and voice.
Yes.
That lady could sing.
Absolutely. Also, September 29th, Ian McShane is 72. And Miguel de Cervantes, born in 1547. You know who that was?
To be honest, no.
Don Quixote.
Ah, okay.
So, September 30th, Johnny Math.
Chances are I will see grin the moment you come into view.
Yes, he's 79.
Yeah, the artist who sounds like this, maybe there's something wrong with your speaker wires.
Yeah. And Ki Hong Lee is 28 on September 30th. Do you recognize that name?
Looks familiar, but I can't place it.
From the Scorch Trials and
Maze Runner.
Yep. And also, September 30th, William Wrigley was born in 1861. I put him on the list since the Cubs have got a postseason berth this year.
Oh,
So,
well, good for you.
hopefully, maybe the Cubs will win this year. Who knows, you know?
Why are we rooting for the Cubs? We're D-back people.
Well, I mean, the D-backs didn't make it into the postseason.
I got to
though,
root
did
for
they?
somebody.
Exactly. October 1st, Julie Andrews, 79.
Wow,
And-
what a lady.
Yes. And Richard Harris would have been 85.
You know, what a loss.
Yes.
Really, I think back, of course, I'm always going to think of Harry Potter and him as Dumbledore, and it was a real tragedy that he couldn't be in the remaining series
Yeah.
of movies.
Tom Hooper is 42. He was the director of Les Mis and a couple of other things that we've seen. So October 2nd, Avery Brooks is 66.
66?
Yes.
Has it been that long since DS? Wow, I guess it has been.
Yes, it has.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We're kind of dating ourselves here. Annie Leibovitz is 65. Oh, my.
Mhm.
I don't remember that commercial. Mike Rutherford is 64.
Ah,
Put
that was
one
for
in there
me.
For you. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Genesis man himself.
Yes. And Julius Marx, a.k.a. Groucho, was born in 1890.
Good grief. I'm
And-
feeling so old.
I know. And Mahatma, also known as Mohandas Gandhi, was born in 1869.
Oh,
October 3rd, Lindsey Buckingham is 65.
I mean, just put me in a grave already,
I
will you? I
know.
mean, these are people that I grew up, you know, Lindsey Buckingham, Mike Rutherford. I mean, to me, these are musicians that I grew up with, and to see them at the age of 65 and 64 just reminds me how old I'm getting.
Yep. Also, last but not least, October 4th, Tony La Russa is 70.
He will always be, in my mind, the manager of the Oakland A's.
Yeah, that's why I put that in there.
Thank you.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, this is Crazy Joe.
This is Dave, host of Megapodzilla,
The podcast equivalent to a 100-foot radioactive robot lizard.
but with horn-rimmed glasses and a pocket protector.
That's nerdy. We're on the rampage, laying waste to the geek landscape.
We'll talk movies, TV, comics, toys, video games.
And sometimes we talk turkey.
Don't you mean chicken?
That's right. So check us out at megapodzilla.com.
We're also available on iTunes and the Zune Marketplace.
Aw, yeah.
Go give a listen to our friend Crazy Joe over at Megapodzilla. You'll be glad you did.
Yes, especially since, as you pointed out,
His
in
most
this-
current
his
episode.
most current episode, which is yet to drop, but when it does, he will be interviewing Zachary Levi. Of course, we remember him as providing the voice of the movie Tangled, but a lot of people remember him from the NBC series Chuck, and most recently of Heroes Reborn. So that's kind of a hot interview for Crazy Joe at Megapodzilla. Cheers, Joe. Happy for you.
Yes, and that sound means that it is listener feedback time.
And I got a nice little bit of feedback, and I'm going to kind of pat myself on the back here. When we were down at Horrible Imaginings, one of the things that we talked to, his name
Mike
is
Gallagher.
Mike Gallagher, thank you. And I'm ashamed of myself. Too many names I have to deal with today. Anyway, he was the executive producer for a project called Dreams in the Witch House. I wrote a very good review for it on our website, and you can see it at
And
tggeeks.com.
what is Dreams in the Witch House?
Dreams of the Witch House is a Lovecraftian rock opera. It is based on a story by H.P. Lovecraft written in 1933 called Dreams in the Witch House. And I've listened to this CD twice now, and it is the most haunting, transformative piece of music I've heard in a very long time. I absolutely loved it. So I wrote this.
And you played the one piece for me.
I played
yet to listen to
Legends
it.
and Lore was the one piece I played for you.
Really nice. I liked it.
Very
a lot.
very epic kind of sound. It was very lovely. And so I wrote this review, and I shared it with Mike Gallagher over on Facebook, and this was his response. Many thanks, Ben. Glorious review! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Our team is thrilled to read your critique. The review has been posted on our Facebook page and will soon via Twitter as well. Cheers of the grandest sort, TG Geeks rocks. And then they reposted it on Facebook with this. Just in, a stellar review from Ben Raggington of the Two Gay Geeks, all in caps. And then he quoted me where I wrote, "This is a recording that has made its way to stand alongside such masterworks by artists such as Pink Floyd, Yes, and Dream Theater," to which Mike then followed up with, "Wow, check it out." And then he gave a link to the review. And again, the review for Dreams in the Witch House will be on our website, tggeeks.com. And that's our feedback. And it was one that I was I was very flattered by that.
You wrote a really good review. A good assessment of it. So just a reminder that the Facebook profile for TG Geeks is our account to host our TG Geeks webcast page. You can send us a friend request there, and we'll do that. Or if you would also like our TG Geeks webcast page, and if you like our show or even dislike it, you can comment on that Facebook page, the TG Geeks webcast Facebook page, our YouTube episodes, or at tggeeks.com, and you could receive a shout-out on a future episode. Or you can call our listener feedback line, and we will play your comment on air. 469 TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357.
This is Mark Biaggi, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks webcast. You name it, they'll talk about it.
Okay, I got a couple things we want to discuss here, most notably television shows, especially since it is now September. We are in the last half of September. Television shows are now beginning to either premiere or come back.
Yes.
I want to start, because we talked about Zachary Levi, I want to start on this one. Heroes Reborn, and this is sort of a cheat, because it's a comeback, but it's also new. And we're going to be honest here. Heroes was a very weird show for us to watch in the first place, and I want to touch on this very subject a little bit later. We jumped on the Heroes bandwagon a little bit late, and the way we were able to do that was after the first season fully aired, we then bought it on DVD, so we were able to mainline it. And we're going to talk about doing that a little bit later. We fell off the bandwagon shortly after year 2, and a lot of that had to do with the writer's strike, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was all about the writer's strike. The series took a very, very strange direction and then kind of took a life of its own, and we just never came back to it. Well, now it's back. I'm not entirely sure why. I think maybe a lot of people were wondering if there was ever going to be some kind of a resolution, because I don't believe there was. But we've seen the first episode. It was kind of interesting the way it was set up, and I'm not going to say anything to anybody who hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But just, okay, what were your initial thoughts on that?
It was another one of those that I didn't hate it. It was there. It was intriguing. I liked where they've kind of decided to pick up, and they don't have a lot of baggage from the previous
No, in fact,
years.
it looks like there's virtually, well, they're a tiny bit.
Yeah.
A tiny bit that we seem to learn about.
But it's almost like a new show.
It might as well be a new show.
Yeah.
What makes it easy is the fact that we do have one main recurring character, plus lots of suggestions of past characters, and we know that there will be at least 2 characters that will be from the previous series that will be coming back. So you were kind of okay with it? I mean, given that was the first episode?
Yeah, I'll watch it again. Well, the first 2 episodes, which was
that's true. It's a 2-hour. It was a 2-parter, or 2-hour.
So I think that, unless they screw it up going along, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Well,
'Cause we have another news item that's
we're going to talk on that, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would say that the one advantage to them not screwing it up is, unlike the previous series, which was very open-ended, this one's not.
Right.
It's only contracted for 13 episodes, so at least they have, I would hope that they've got an ending in sight, so maybe they've got a built-in storyline, beginning, middle, and end. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah.
With any luck.
And that's one of those things that we'll talk about. We'll
talk about it.
Let's just say it. We're going to talk about how to watch fall TV and how do you know it's good, or how do you know it's going to be good or not
Right.
going to be good. But we're going to talk about that later. And I think one of the things in this having a beginning and an end, they have to stay within that. It's when shows have this open-ended thing, but they've chosen a storyline or an arc that has a natural ending, and they try to draw it out, is where it becomes problematic.
Yeah.
I have problem with shows like that, there's been a number of them recently, like some kid gets kidnapped, and I mean, it's like, okay, so you're basing your whole show on this kid that got kidnapped and his mother searched for him? There's a beginning and there's an end there.
What are you going to do in the middle?
Yeah. Why are you going to drag that? Is he going to stay kidnapped for 4 years or what?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I mean, that would be tedious.
Yeah, it's a good point, and we will talk on that when we get to it.
Anyway.
But I want to jump back to another show which just did return last week, and that's Gotham.
Oh my gosh.
Very intense.
Yes.
Very surprising. It started in a place that I just did not expect.
Yeah, but it was. They've said that this is a new pilot, if
yes,
you will.
We posted. I believe we posted an article. Yes, we did post an article on it. We'll add that to our show notes, where there was some discussion about how this would be a second pilot. They're not rebooting the series, but they're going to take it in a new direction. All of a sudden,
Right?
Some of the showrunners, they've learned from, I wouldn't say mistakes, but they've realized where the strengths lie now.
Right.
And now they're going to take it in a new direction that's going to make it more arc-oriented. What were some of the things that you did like?
I liked some of the characters, the way they twisted some of the characters and what they did with the characters.
Interesting you say that, because that's one of the things that they really wanted to focus on this coming year was character development.
Right. The character development and where some of the storylines are going. I think that's the thing that I like the most. It seemed to make more sense, where all the shows were kind of self-contained. There was not a lot of character development.
Oh, they were procedurals.
Yeah, exactly. So now I think they've decided that they want to do a more arc, which I thought that was kind of confusing that they were procedurals when this actually has, there is a beginning here and there was an end.
Yeah,
Batman,
we know the end is when
we
we
know
get
what
Batman.
the Batman is.
Yeah.
We know what the end is.
That's
It's
the
Batman.
end.
Yeah. So how the hell does he get there?
But I think actually in the case of Gotham, and I remember I was really down on the idea because everything's about Batman. I mean, Batman right now, he's arguably one of the most popular characters in all the superhero pantheon right at this time. So I had a really difficult time trying to understand, why would you make this TV series about before Batman? I couldn't quite get it. And I'm actually going to cut some serious slack to the showrunners. I think they were actually right for the first season in creating a procedural, because you've basically given us a police show now. Okay, yeah, there's a dozen police shows. The nice thing about it is that it's a police show with Batman wrapping around it, shall we say.
Yeah.
So that made it enticing. Keeping it a procedural made it, I think, more accessible. And you want to do that for a first season because you need to set everything in place.
Yeah, I guess that.
And it worked out really well. And now that you've got all the pieces pretty much put where you want them to be, now you can start going arc heavy. Now you can start really drawing the characters out in ways that you couldn't do before. And one character that just, wow. I mean, wow, is the young ginger criminal that everybody believes is to be Joker, as played by Cameron Monaghan.
Yeah.
This kid is genius.
Yeah, he was pretty scary.
In fact, every time he was on the screen, I was watching him because
Chewed up the scenery.
he did. I mean, he's really deliciously evil in this, and unlike, and I'm gonna be a heretic here. When Heath Ledger did his turn as Batman in
Or Joker.
or excuse me, yeah, as Joker in one of the previous Batman films, I really did not go into it very well. I had a hard time accepting him as Joker. I just didn't quite get the Joker aspect of it. I mean, was he a psychopath? Absolutely. But was he Joker? No, I didn't get that. This kid has got it. He is so channeling the Joker from the Batman comic book that he's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't stop watching him. I think he's absolutely amazing. And now that Jim Gordon is where he wants to be, and I'm not going to say where that is. You need to watch the show for yourself.
Yeah.
Now that he's where he wants to be and how he got there.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I think this series is going to take a really unusual turn. I can't wait to see where this is going to go now because they've done some unusual things with the characters already that have me just like saying, but that's not how it's supposed to go. Thank you for surprising me. And I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, I think back to something that you said and just reiterate. They did their universe building
Yes.
in the first season, and now they can
Now that
play in that universe.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Now that we have the sandbox, we've got all our toys in the sandbox. Let's play.
Exactly.
And I think they're going to do a bang up job with it.
Yep.
Now, jumping to a new show, and I have this weird feeling that this season is going to be the season of TV shows based on movies.
Yeah,
Not just based on movies,
exactly.
but are sequels to movies. How do you like
Yes,
that?
Exactly.
I mean, how do you like them apples? Minority Report.
Yep. It's not just based on the film.
No.
It is actually a sequel to the film.
Absolutely a sequel to the film. They make reference to the movies or to the movie Minority Report. They even bring one character back. Well, actually, 3 characters, I should say. 3 characters back from the movie Minority Report. They bring back the precogs.
Yep.
So now we have this interesting. It was presented to us, I think, initially as yet another police procedural set in this what is supposed to be a very optimistic future. Despite the fact that there's crime there, but they've got all this high-tech means to solve crime. Now, what you had the disadvantage of not remembering having seen the movie.
Yeah, I you must have watched that with your other husband. I don't know. Because I don't remember seeing that film
You
at
were
all.
sitting right next to me.
I don't remember. I must have slept through it. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe you came back from a trip. Maybe you're tired from a business trip. Who knows?
Who knows?
Because you were traveling a lot at that time. Anyhow, so you have this weird situation where you saw the first episode first and essentially saw the movie second. So now that you've seen both, and of course I got to get a refresher on the film, what did you think about this first episode of Minority Report?
I thought it was great. It really was intriguing to me. I think that there's a lot that they can do with this. Even if it is a procedural, there's a lot that they can do surrounding that. So, and I mean, we kind of like procedurals. So
well, procedurals can be a lot of fun, but and what was interesting is how it was sort of essentially presented, kind of, sort of, as a procedural, and then they dropped a nice little teaser bombshell towards the end of the story, which makes me think this isn't quite so much of a procedural, that there's an arc which they're going to be developing, and I just have this feeling.
Nothing wrong with a procedural with an arc.
No, in fact, I think that it's going to remain a procedural for at least the first half of the season before it starts to go more arc heavy. So I'm really intrigued by the show. One of the things that I really liked about it is the cinematography.
Yeah.
So many times we've had really depressing, and I'm going to throw the D word out again. So depressing. And I'm going to throw the other D word out, dystopia. We get these very dystopic-looking science fiction shows, and one of the ways that you can really emphasize that just horrible doom and gloom about the way society is is through the cinematography, the set design, the lighting. You
Right.
take away the colors, you mute them, so everything has this very dingy gray to it. I mean, you can see some color there, but it's just kind of bleak and blah.
It's almost that washed out thing.
Very.
If you think of what was it, iRobot or not iRobot? What was the?
Almost
Yeah.
Human?
No.
Not Almost Human, no.
Oh,
A
the
movie we watched
yeah.
in the theater
No.
here at home.
Yes. What the Will Smith? Was it iRobot?
Well,
Yeah.
Will Smith was an iRobot,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I mean, that one had kind of that dystopian, washed out, white-ish, with blue tones look to it.
Yeah, which always means that things are not good.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of get that. And with this one, what we got was a lot of sunlight, a lot of good colors, people smiling, people happy. Even the techniques by which the police department used to solve their crimes now had this bright, flashy kind of. I want to say Apple look. That's not quite right, but it was just really brilliant. And bright colors usually signify optimism. So I was very happy with what we were seeing. Yeah, there's still crime there, but it's a better society now. So I was happy that we were getting something that is a positive world, that people are trying to create a better world for themselves and for each other. And to me, that's always that's a virtue, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Now, the third show we're gonna, well, actually, this is the fourth show we're gonna talk about. Yet another one that is a sequel to a movie, Limitless.
Yeah.
Now, we've had the disadvantage. We have not seen the movie Limitless. We are conscious of it. We understand basically what the story's all about, but we've not seen the movie, and I think we should definitely check it out when we have an
Yeah.
opportunity. But now that you've seen Limitless, and I hate to say it looks like another police procedural, what was your thought of it?
I thought it was great. It will be interesting to see where this goes and how they do that, and how they use him, shall we say?
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about it is that they brought Bradley Cooper, who was the star of the movie, to have a little cameo as his character from the film to bridge that gap. But what I recently heard is that he's going to be in several episodes. They're going to be bringing him back like every 2 or 3 episodes now. So I'm rather excited about this.
Yeah.
It's going to create a better
Synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A better sense of synergy and a better sense of continuity between the movie and the TV show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Just when you say that, I think it's more people are in the studios and production companies are now looking, and say it again, to the Marvel universe and how that synergy between the films and the TV are working for them, and they're taking a cue from that. That's my impression.
You know, that's not a bad analysis. Now that I think about it, I think you're really onto something there, because
Especially if it was a popular film.
well, absolutely. And Limitless was very popular. Minority Report was very popular. So it makes perfect sense that they would want to try and bridge that gap. And maybe you're right. Maybe the networks are taking a page out of what Marvel has been doing
Right.
between movie, ABC, and Netflix by trying to build this very cohesive kind of universe now. And with the way the entertainment industry is going now, we're seeing less of a divide, I think, between theater and television. I think we're seeing that gap begin to
Right.
narrow a lot. So it makes kind of sense that they'd want to sort of bridge it.
Right.
I think it's a great idea. One of the neat things that I really liked about Limitless was a great lighting and coloring technique, and that
Right.
is how every time our protagonist was, how can I say? Well, every time he was amped up. I can't think of a better phrase to put it. Every time he was enhanced. There we go.
Enhanced.
He was enhanced, yes. The lighting just brightened. and the colors, the saturation of the colors just got that much richer. It was really enjoyable to watch, and every time he came down or every time you were seeing things from another person's point of view, it went back to the way it was previously. Great little subtle things like that to help get the viewer kind of pulled into the show. So I was very happy with it. I am very excited to see where this is going to go now.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something really big here, and so, I would say so far the TV season for genre sci-fi comic book genre television shows, I would dare say, is off to a really, really good start.
Yeah, and one thing that we recorded that we have not watched yet that's still on the DVR is Scream Queen. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, definitely. I really want to watch that this weekend.
Yeah,
in a big way, because it looks like, I mean, another type of sort of a dark comedy slasher horror thing. And given our recent exposure to horror now, I think we should really definitely take a look at it.
Yep.
And the fact that they're kind of playing fun with the genre at the same time, I think it could make it very interesting.
Exactly.
So now, and you had mentioned this, there was an article on IO9, and we're going to put this the link to this article on our show notes. But this is really appropriate for now, given that all these shows are coming back and a bunch of new shows have yet to premiere. And the article is 9 ways to tell if a new TV show is going to be worth watching. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is we already have some kind of little litmus tests,
Right.
As to whether or not we want to watch it. Now,
we have it's a 3 to 4 episode litmus test, and if we don't like it in 3 or 4 episodes,
then we bag on it.
We jettison it. Now, maybe that's not always the
maybe
best
it's not
thing,
fair,
but it's our test, and I'm not gonna sit through something for 5 and 6 and 8 and 10 episodes just to get to the good stuff.
Well, especially if it's weekly, and I'm gonna touch on that in a minute.
Yeah, we have a lot that we watch to begin with.
Yeah,
much less.
Yeah, now we'll touch on some of these points. The first one that leapt right out, and I want to bring this up because this one is very interesting. And it says, is the second episode way worse than the pilot?
Yeah.
Now, I find this one interesting for one very simple reason. I'm right now going through a big rewatch of Babylon 5 currently. And arguably, the pilot to that, the movie The Gathering, is infinitely better than the first episode of Season 1, Midnight Upon the Firing Line. That episode is very weak in comparison. In fact, I remember when I watched it, I had all this great anticipation because The Gathering just did such a great job of creating a very deep, serious science fiction story in a very interesting kind of universe that had a darkness to it, but not bleak. And then we go to Midnight on the Firing Line, and now all of a sudden it's kind of bright, it's very cheery, and it's a little, it's light. Light. And I remember feeling a little kind of put off by it initially. So I think that's kind of an interesting little sort of a test.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to get through the third episode to kind of. That's why we give 3 to 4 episodes, so that we get the pilot, we get the crappy second episode if there is a crappy second episode, and then we get 1 or 2 more. We've actually abandoned a couple of shows on the first episode, but
there were
Scorpions.
Scorpion first episode. You don't recover from that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
If it's really, really bad.
If it's just
I'm sorry.
Dumb.
If it's I'm sorry that it's a popular show.
So they say.
Like
So they say. Yeah. How do I hear that promo? CBS's most popular new TV show, and I'm going. Yeah. Who did you ask?
Right.
Yeah. But interesting. You should mention that because the paragraph under that, is this second episode way worse than the pilot? I mean, they wrote that. Yeah, you have to come back and do 20 to 21 more hours. They have to keep the conveyor belt moving, so to speak. You have to keep coming up with 20 things of the week stories, or else find a way to keep the soap opera twisting over and over and over again.
Yep.
And the writer said, the second and third episodes are your first clue as to how a show is going to do that and what kind of tricks they're going to resort too.
Right. Which brings you to some of the other things in the article. So
Yeah. One thing, network meddling.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but this one is not necessarily, it's, as with step 1, step 2 is not necessarily a surefire guaranteed that it's going to be a bad show.
Right.
And they point to Sleepy
But
Hollow.
it can be.
It can be.
Yeah.
There are some shows that, yes, where there's a lot of network shifting. Usually that means, okay, approach with caution.
Yep.
There should be warning signs all over the place about that. But there are other shows that I think only got better. Sleepy Hollow, for example.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that first
what a great
season
show,
was
yeah.
just knocked out of the ballpark. It was phenomenal. But then you have like Terra Nova, which I watched only one episode and thought this was just dreadfully bad. So yeah, I quickly abandoned that one in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
One I'm jumping to now is the cast amazing? Sometimes that can be a good lure.
Yep.
If you've got a really good cast. I'm trying to remember if there's any one show right now that made me say, "Oh, we have to watch this." Oh, actually, I do know. Fringe,
Yes. Yeah. John Noble.
because of John Noble.
Exactly.
Loved him as his turn in Lord of the Rings as Lord Denethor.
Yeah. And you skip the one is. Just
Well, I
before
did
that.
skip one, yeah,
Yeah,
because I
it's-
just didn't see the point. I mean,
Well,
does the
the-
writing staff include a bunch of people whose work you've loved before?
or directing staff, or showrunner, etc. I mean that you can lump all that together.
Well, that's true. I mean, you look at and actually you make that's it. That is a good point, because the team that was behind Fringe, they are doing one of the shows that we're watching now. I can't recall right now if it's Limitless or if it is Minority Report. It's one of the two.
Right.
But that's usually a good mark.
Right.
So you're right. That one should have been touched on.
Yeah.
Do the writers seem to be writing to the most interesting relationships?
Right.
And I kind of get the feeling that the writer of this article is kind of saying this is something to walk away from. I don't entirely agree with that. He's pointing to Gotham and says that Bullock and Gordon had like the most exciting thing to watch. And of course now those two have been split up.
Right.
And yet I think already coming into season 2, as we just discussed, that episode was very, very interesting now. And I think the dynamic has been shifted a little bit. So I don't think you can really put all your barrels into that one particular thing. If a show, with the case of Gotham, it's a very dynamic show. It's always moving, so it's always changing. So I think that's not necessarily a good example. That's not a litmus test that we've actually jumped on.
Yeah.
Now, I like this next one because
Oh,
this is one
this
that
is-
you
I
just touched
talked
on.
about- Exactly.
Is the basic premise one that actually supports an ongoing TV show? And I can think of several where the answer is a big fat no.
Right. Exactly.
One that comes to mind is The Event.
Oh God.
Oh, man,
He
did I
also
hate
talks
that.
about- what was it? He talks about one in here.
He talks about The Event in the article here.
Right.
That was one that, and I think he actually mentions Flash Forward.
Yes, that one.
Ugh.
Oh my God. It's like it says, are we going to keep running through variations on the same scenario or delaying an inevitable resolution through increasingly baroque twists?
Yeah.
It's like, hello, how many times can you do this? It's the same outcome.
And one show that we had sort of this issue with, I mean, we stuck it out to the end, but we were seriously disappointed by the time we got there, and that was The Mentalist.
Yeah.
It went on too long.
It went on too long. They should have resolved it and moved on with him.
And the problem,
or they should have resolved it and just stopped it.
And herein lies another problem. Yes, they were visibly stalling because the show was enormously popular when it first came out, because it was sort of the antithesis to all the CSI shows we were getting. At the time, I think there were 3 CSI shows. I mean, you
Right.
had Las Vegas, Miami, and New York. And now we get this one show that is completely the opposite of that. You have this man who is just, I mean, he's a carny man.
Right.
And he's simply going off his intuition and his incredible skills at observation
Right.
to be able to suss out the criminal and how they did it.
Right. Well, they gave us too many arc episodes.
While at the same time, there was one really, really, really huge arc from the first episode, and that's
Right.
catching Red John, the killer.
Exactly. So they
There were a lot of
They-
sub-arcs within
they,
the arc.
They didn't pace it real well.
No.
And so they burned it out. They burned the arc out.
Oh, badly.
And then when it's another one of those things, and it's something that I comment daily. The writers today, they have this habit, whether it's media, any kind of media, especially the internet. You're reading along on a story, and then all of a sudden the writer just stops writing. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they did with the Mentalist. They painted themselves into a corner, and then they said, okay, we're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of the problem with that is, again, this is a show that your end goal is Patrick Jane, our protagonist, our hero. He has to find Red John. He has to find the man who killed his wife and his daughter. That's it. That's the goal. And
it was
what was bad is they gave us the worst red herring right at the end of what I would say season 3.
Yep.
By giving us a fake Red John. Man, you can't yank your audience like that.
Yeah.
As you just heard in our interview with Jim Hansen, when he says, one of the things that he learned was take care of your audience. Well, hey, shame, people. Those of you who are managing The Mentalist, you did not take care of your audience.
Yeah.
You betrayed the audience. There's misdirection, which is one thing. That's not misdirection. That was betrayal.
Yeah.
And that made it hard to made it
Yeah.
hard to stay on the bandwagon. And by the time you finally gave us who the real Red John killer was,
it was an anticlimax.
well, it not only was an it was bizarre.
Yeah. It was so unbelievable.
It was completely ridiculous. I mean, had the Red John killer, the fake Red John killer, had that really been him, that actually would have made for a better ending.
Yeah.
Had it really been him. Instead, you gave us this big surprise.
Yeah.
April Fools, late April Fools, and then now you have to come up with something else. And as you pointed out, and this comes up to the next article, or next point, painting yourselves in a corner. That's what they did. They painted themselves in a corner by giving us a fake ending, and now they've got to come up with something else that is just completely unbelievable.
Yep.
And it made for a very depressing ending to the overall series. I was not the least bit happy about it.
Yeah.
And as far as did they paint themselves into a corner, the one show that I just really thought had a phenomenal promise, Flash Forward.
Yep.
This was a really interesting idea, and even partway through, they created the biggest out, which I thought was such a phenomenal idea, and then you ended up painting yourselves in a corner by allowing your characters to become victims of their own preconceived fate.
Right.
And it just became so distressing that I just jettisoned it.
Yep.
And
just
said,
turned
okay,
it off.
cancel. I'm taking this off the DVR. I'm canceling it on the recording schedule. I will never, ever watch this show again.
And it died.
It died badly.
It died a painful death.
It was very, very painful.
Yep.
And then the last step that they talk upon is the show about anything?
Right. Is it compelling?
Does it have an idea? Does it have something that makes you want to come back? I mean, even if it's a procedural, you've got to give us a core idea. And if it's a procedural, then you have to have strong characters.
Exactly.
That'll make you want to come back and see them time and time again.
Or strong science, or strong methods, or something that's
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
CSI, the very first
Exactly.
CSI episode, the reason we watched the first Crime Scene Investigators was because I had read an article by Will Wheaton saying that he was going to be a guest on it. So we thought,
And that was like in season 3 or 4.
that was early.
Yeah.
Early in the CSI run. And so we thought, okay, we'll watch it. But what was the thing that brought us back? The quirky humor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And not every episode was quirky, but there was just enough of it to make us say, ooh, I got to come back. And then, of course, as you pointed out, there was the science. The science was interesting. It got to be a little bit fantastic as years went on. It turned into a science fiction show, sadly, but it was still interesting to watch at its time. So, you need to have some kind of a show that is about some kind of idea. Otherwise, how the heck are you going to get your audience to keep coming back?
Yeah.
And luckily, the shows that we've got so far, they've given us something.
Exactly.
I mean, even Limitless provided us a little bit of a surprise at the very end, which made us say, ooh, there's a future to this series. Minority Report did the same thing. There's a future to this series. It's growing its own legs. Even Heroes, which has a limited run, they've presented us with something that makes us say, okay, maybe it is just a 13-episode run, but they've given us an idea, a plot point that makes us want to say, I got to watch more because I want to see where that is going to go.
Exactly. Now, I want to, this was an article. It's on IO9, and it is called
9 Ways to Tell If a New TV Show is Going to Be Worth Watching.
And it was written by Charlie Jane Anders. And she has an author, and she has a book coming out in January, All the Birds in the Sky. So from Tor Books. So go take a look at IO9 and take a look at that article. We just covered it kind of at a high level, but she makes some really good points.
There's some really good things. And I want to just briefly...
And we'll have a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, and I just want to briefly summarize something here. For people that may be a little bit apprehensive about watching a TV show that is brand new, do what we did with 2 different television shows. Actually, 3. Mainline.
Yep.
One thing that we did this with Heroes, we did it with Game of Thrones, and most recently, we did, 4. I'm sorry, 4 shows. 5 shows. God, I'm losing count how many shows we've actually done this to.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones,
a number of them.
We did it with Grimm.
Yep.
To the point where we've completely caught up, and now we're going to be current when that show begins.
I don't know if I can go week to week.
Exactly. And then we did it with Continuum.
Yep. And we're still catching up on that.
Still catching up on Continuum. We did it with Bones.
Yeah, we're still catching up on that.
Still catching up on that.
We kind of did it with Downton Abbey as well.
Yeah, we did with Downton Abbey. So if you have a concern, and I know that a lot of people actually do this. I think one of the co-hosts for Kevin Batchelder's Tuning into Sci-Fi does this. He will actually record the entire series on his DVR and then watch it just boom, mainline the entire thing. Because shows that might seem a bit tedious if you're going week to week to week to week might seem less tedious if you're going through them in a run.
And that's what people said about Grimm is they were having this, oh my gosh, it's so tedious, I can't do week to week.
People said that about the first year of Babylon 5.
Yeah.
And actually, Eugene, my co-host for Fusion Patrol, said the same thing. He couldn't watch Babylon 5 because he found watching it week to week to week was too tedious. He got the DVDs. He started mainlining. He says it's a much better show that way. So if you are curious about a TV series, you might want to think about mainlining.
Yep.
Because many shows, and this is something that I discussed regarding Heroes, the original series, people have a very funny way of retconning how good a TV show is, and that is based on their most recent experience with a particular season. The first half of Heroes may have been slow, may have been drawn out. It may have been just really difficult to get through on a week-to-week basis, trying to get some answers. However, if you watch it all in just one huge run, it might make for a better TV show. And for those people who did watch all of Heroes on a week-to-week basis, what do they remember by the time they got to the end of year 1? They remembered how strong the show ended. And because it ended strongly, the entire season was presented strongly. So that's a possibility. You might want to think about mainlining a TV series if it's brand new. Or even if it's a repeating show that you just don't want to deal with the week-to-week tedium. You might just want to think about mainlining it. And then for those shows that or for anything that you want to watch during the summer break, hey, you've just given yourself some new watching material.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about more shows as they premiere or come back.
Oh, yeah. We
so
got lots of good stuff coming back this season.
Lots of stuff. And we do have one follow-up item. The Beyond the Impact, or Origin Beyond the Impact Kickstarter, finished up on Friday morning, and unfortunately they did not reach their goal. So
heartbreak.
It was not funded, although I've been in contact with Jeff Patton, and he is the 3 episodes that they did for Beyond the Impact still have several. It still has a conclusion that they need to get to, and he is in the process of getting ready to film that. That's already funded, and they already have something going on there with that. So stay tuned here for more information on more impact on Beyond the Impact, and we'll see what happens. Because there was another story that they were really trying to fund with the Kickstarter, which was the whole backstory, if you will. So we're gonna keep you posted and stay tuned here for more information.
Yes. And lastly, want to give a shout out once again to the Facebook group, The Gay Geek, for allowing us to post our episodes on their website. And their URL is www.facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek. And we're really happy to put our episodes there, especially in light of today's interview with Jim Hansen, the creator of a gay horror comedy.
You're killing me.
You're killing me. So, yeah, that's a perfect place for this episode to be on Facebook, The Gay Geek. Check it out.
Up next week, who knows?
I don't. Not yet.
We don't know yet. We might have another interview. We might have some cast members from BTI or.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
So stay tuned, and we'll see what we have for you next week. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page to articles and shows and various things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.